Hello, welcome back to school. Welcome back to English communication class. Our topic for today is effective communication. Effective communication. How can you communicate effectively? When we are communicating, it's really important to get your message across and say what you want to say, right? And make the other people understand of what you are saying rather than just speaking, right? So, we will talk about some tips or how to make yourself understood better. All right, let's begin. First, we have a quote. Let's discuss this quote. Look at this. We have two ears and one mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. It's by a Greek philosopher, right? What do you think about this quote? You have two ears and only one mouth, so you could listen more than you talk, right? What does it mean? Do you agree with this quote? Do you think this quote is necessary? Right. So, next, when we communicate, what is more important, listening or talking? Some people talk a lot and some people listen a lot. Some people just don't talk, right? And it's important to do them both. So, which one is more important, listening or talking? When if you don't listen, you won't understand the other person, right? And if you don't talk, then other person will not understand your point. So both are equally important, but if you say listening is important, then tell us why is it important. If you think talking is more important than listening, then why is that more important? And our next discussion question is, what are the qualities of a good communicator? What are the qualities of a good communicator? A good communicator is someone who can listen well and talk well, right, without much of misunderstanding. So, what makes a person a good communicator? You could give us your opinion on that. Then our next question is, what problems might occur when communicating with someone? We all had some problems communicating with other people, right? When we talk or when we listen, we don't understand what really the other person is trying to say, or sometimes we say something and the other person would understand something else that we didn't mean. So, what are some of the problems of this sort? Next, we will do a vocabulary introduction. We will take a look at some vocabulary related to the topic, effective communication, such as animosity, confusion, feedback, ideas, meaning, thoughts, misunderstanding, miscommunication, and message. Right? What do all these words mean? Do you know all of their meanings? Do you know some of their meanings? And how do we use it in a sentence? Right? First, we will take a look at the meanings of these words. We will explain the meaning. And once we understand the meaning of these words, then we will move on to this part. We need to put these words into these boxes here, right? Receive, receive, like to get. Which one of these can you receive? Can you receive animosity? Can you receive miscommunication? Can you receive misunderstanding? Or can you receive a message, right? You get a message. And what else can be received? Can ideas be received? How about share? Can you share feedback? Can you share ideas? Can you share misunderstanding? Can you share communication? So, which of these words will come to this box? Next one is grasp, to get, basically. Thoughts or meaning or ideas or feedback, which words will come to this box? And then we got prevent. Prevent. What can you prevent so that it will not happen, right? Prevent misunderstanding, maybe, or prevent miscommunication, maybe. What else can be prevented? Next one is interpret. Interpret. Interpret is more like explain, right? Which one of these can be interpreted? Can your ideas be interpreted? Right? A feedback, can it be interpreted? Yeah. How about thoughts? Can you interpret thoughts? And then lead to. Which words will come to this box? Now, don't forget, you can put one word more than one box, right? Some words can go to 2 or 3 boxes here. Lead to. Could it lead to animosity? If you're a bad communicator, could it lead to animosity? Could it lead to confusion where other people don't understand what you're trying to say? Right? Lead to. Which words will come to this box right here? Once you get that, then we will use these words, right? These words here into this blank. So you need to fill in these blanks using these words. We will, practice this vocabulary, right? For example, asking people questions, usually miscommunication. So imagine you're talking to someone and you're not sure of what they say. And if you ask more questions, what is it going to do? It's going to prevent miscommunication, right? You need to ask more questions if you don't understand something. B, one of the most common reasons that misunderstanding is the use of complicated sentence structures, right? What word will we put here? Or take a look at C. It only makes sense to positive feedback as it keeps everyone happy. Positive feedback, negative feedback, right? What word will we put into this blank? D, people with various knowledge, experience, and cultural backgrounds, ... messages in different ways. So it's trying to say that if some people have different knowledge, some people have different experiences, right? Some people grow up in different environments or different cultural backgrounds. Like if you're someone from Thailand and if you talk to someone from Africa, and even though you say what you want to say, the other person might not understand it, or it might cause some confusion because of cultural background, right? Because what you experience in the past and what they experienced in the past is not same. Yeah. All right, then we will do that. And now we have a video about communication. How does communication happen? Let's watch the video. Yeah. Let's watch the video and pay attention to these terms: the transition model, the transactional model, and perpetual filters. So when you're watching the video, pay attention to these models and filters, all right? Let's watch the video.
Have you ever talked with a friend about a problem, only to realize that he just doesn't seem to grasp why the issue is so important to you? Have you ever presented an idea to a group, and it's met with utter confusion? Or maybe you've been in an argument when the other person suddenly accuses you of not listening to what they're saying at all. What's going on here? The answer is miscommunication, and in some form or another, we've all experienced it. It can lead to confusion, animosity, misunderstanding, or even crashing a multi-million-dollar probe into the surface of Mars. The fact is, even when face-to-face with another person, in the very same room, and speaking the same language, human communication is incredibly complex. But the good news is that a basic understanding of what happens when we communicate can help us prevent miscommunication. For decades, researchers have asked what happens when we communicate. One interpretation, called the transmission model, views
Transition model. You see, pay attention.
when we communicate. One interpretation, called the transmission model, views communication as a message that moves directly from one person to another, similar to someone tossing a ball and walking away. But in reality, this simplistic model doesn't account for communication's complexity. Enter the transactional model, which acknowledges the many added challenges of communicating. With this model, it's more accurate to think of communication between people as a game of catch. As we communicate our message, we receive feedback from the other party. Through the transaction, we create meaning together. But from this exchange, further complications arise. It's not like the Star Trek universe, where some characters can Vulcan mind meld, fully sharing thoughts and feelings. As humans, we can't help but send and receive messages through our own subjective lenses. When communicating, one person expresses her interpretation of a message, and the person she's communicating with hears his own interpretation of that message. Our perceptual filters continually shift meanings and interpretations. Remember that game of catch? Imagine it with a lump of clay. As each person touches it, they shape it to fit their own unique perceptions, based on any number of variables, like knowledge or past experience, age, race, gender, ethnicity, religion, or family background. Simultaneously, every person interprets the message they receive based on their relationship with the other person and their unique understanding of the semantics and connotations of the exact words being used. They could also be distracted by other stimuli, such as traffic or a growling stomach. Even emotion might cloud their understanding. And by adding more people into a conversation, each with their own subjectivities, the complexity of communication grows exponentially. So as the lump of clay goes back and forth,
All right, yeah, we'll watch the full video in the class. So let's keep it short here so it won't be too complicated. All right, so transmission model, and the transactional model and perpetual filters. So now you listen to the video and you need to choose one of these three options for each, right? What was transmission model? Was it means that communication is one-way process, involves communicating complex concepts, or includes feedback from the other person? And for transactional model, there is no exchange of information, just one person assigns meaning, people give and receive feedback. Yeah, and perpetual filters. Now we will do some vocabulary exercise here. Right, the introduction. Okay, complete these rules of good communication with words in the box. So good communication, how should a good communication should happen? We have engage, express, filters, gut, and open, right? We need to put these 5 words into these 4 blanks. So one of these would be left out, right? One of these will not be used here. All right, you will find that where to put it. Basically, all right. Yeah, once we are done with that activity, then we will go to discussion questions again. We will discuss some questions here, like, do you think that people tend to use many words to communicate their ideas? Right? Do people use many words? Or our second discussion topic is, what can we do better to be better What can we do to be better communicators? To communicate better, to be a better communicator. What can we do? What are your tips? What are some things that you learned from the video? And our last question, in what kind of kinds of situations do you have to ask someone to rephrase what they've said? In what kind of context do you ask them to rephrase? Rephrase means to say the same thing in different words, right? Okay. And then we will learn some phrases that we use in effective communication, like in other words, I don't quite follow. Can you elaborate on that? I don't fully understand. Could you be more specific? I didn't catch that. Could you repeat? Or to put in other way, just to be clear, you are suggesting that to be more specific, can you say that again? I don't get it. Would you mind speaking more slowly? So you're saying that if I understand you correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're saying that, let me clarify that. So these are the phrases that we use to effectively communicate, right? And some of them you might have heard from the songs or the movies. So now we will talk about these phrases and how to use them, right? In what kind of situations do we use these phrases? When do you use in other words? Or what other things can be used instead of this, right? Like, I don't fully understand. So we will try to use these in the sentences, right? To understand it better. And from now on, when you are talking English, let's try to use it and be better communicators, right? When you have some questions, confusions. Yeah. And then we will put these phrases into these 4 categories. You want someone to clarify what they've said. Which one of these can you use? You didn't hear something. Which one of these can you use? Can you say, can you repeat that? Or can you say, could you be more specific? Yeah. You want to clarify or explain something you've already said. Which one of these phrases would you use here? You want to check if you understood what someone has just said. Which one of these phrases would you use in this case? All right. Well. So that's useful phrases. And the last things last, we will have role play assignment for our next class where you need to prepare role play in peers. You will work with one other person and I will give you some scenarios, role play scenarios, and you need to make a dialogue, right? And try to use the things that you have learned in today's class. So every group, not every group, but most of you will get different scenarios than others. So we got in total 4 scenarios here. As you could see, first one is conflict resolution scenario where student A and student B, 2 students are having conflict or they don't understand each other well. They will have a disagreement and they will need to communicate effectively to resolve this conflict. Second one will be a job interview scenario where student A will be a job candidate and student B will be the interviewer, right? How can you communicate better in this situation so you could get the job or you could hire the right person? Our third scenario is sales scenario where you need to sell something. Student A will be a salesperson and you need to convince a potential customer to buy your product. But customer is hesitant and student B will be a customer, right? But student B is a bit hesitant. He's not sure about buying the product or not. So student A needs to convince. And our last scenario is customer service scenario where student A is a customer and student B is a customer service representative, right? So a customer received a defective product and wants a refund, but the return policy has expired. So you will make conversations, dialogues about these scenarios and present it in the class, in our next class, right? Okay, that's it for today then. Thank you for your time and enjoy the rest of your day. See you next class then. Bye bye.